We'll start with narrative, we'll get into mechanics, design, and concept, and then maybe we'll just talk a bit. This is the YouTube RPG with a working title. For now, in this brief 5-turn, 5-day experiment period, Cosmic Vagrancy. If this works and we end up going further, the Black Massacre. The year is 1934. Prohibition ended at the end of last year, and boy don't you know it. What started as one celebratory drink became a celebratory day, became a celebratory week, became a celebratory month. And between New Year's and now, you have been riding the waves of the collapse of your life. In other words, you have officially hit rock bottom. And what does rock bottom look like? Well, like a cartoon that won't air for another 65 years, rock bottom is the end. A weird town in the middle of nowhere where everyone creeps you out and bad things happen. Squander. The end of the United States. You, among an entire vagrant workforce, have arrived in hopes of finding work and food. Jinko, an odd company deductive minds think is run by foreigners, is the only company allowed to log in this area, and they take full advantage. You'll find work and food here as many others have, and will. Despite this, the weather is bad and the mood is dour. You live in a tent city, a workers' ghetto, outside Squander. Some people call it a Hooverville because that's what it is. Others call it the Fog, less after the Hooverville and more after the cloud that has decided to take up residence on top of it. Visibility around the camp and surrounding areas is always awful. Your home's name is an amalgam of the two. The Hooverville Fog. Still speaking more about the odd weather phenomenon than its residents, but using those residents in an insulting way to distinguish this fog from others. Now, you have been in camp or town for 2 days. Saturday, the day you arrived with a few other vagrants, 3 people were killed. They were killed together, they were killed at night, and they were killed almost instantly. Now, the Squander Police Department tends to stay out of your part of town. People get killed or go missing in the fog all the time. And frankly, you aren't worth the resources. However, these murders warranted a brief, quiet investigation. It was weird, and there was some talk, but most people decided to ignore it. However, the next day, Sunday, a man in service broke. He started screaming about a beast of horror and hatred that killed the 3. He spent the next day around camp letting anyone and everyone know something killed these 3, not someone. Sunday night, he was found dead, and his demise warranted the same quick, quiet investigation the murder of the 3 did. Odd. And today is Monday. A new day, a new week, a new life. You're in paradise. You have free food, you have a work-at-your-leisure job, and you even have your own tent. Because of these trying times, you're probably never going to buy a home, so this is like a mansion for you. It's time to begin your new life. But this murder thing has you on edge. And you know you aren't crazy for being worried, because the elite vagrants, the homeless Methuselahs, are on edge too. And they're used to the murders and disappearances by now. So what are you going to do? How is your first week going to play out? Are you going to pretend nothing is happening? Are you going to protect yourself? Are you going to try to solve the problem? Or are you going to become a problem? That's what we're going to find out in Cosmic Vagrancy, a YouTube RPG, or an MMO TTL YT RPG. the experiment and distraction of the year. So, how do you, as a player, participate? Well, there is a scuffed guidebook linked in the description we will review here. Your character is one of these vagrants. You start by thinking up your character. We need a fictional first name and last name. Remember YouTube terms of service. That goes for all aspects of this, but we'll start at the start. Then, from the guidebook, you pick 2 skills and 1 drawback. Your character can attempt to do anything, but if you want better chances, your skills and drawbacks are going to be important. Now, you don't control your vagrant directly, obviously. It's comment section. Instead, each turn you give your vagrant 3 directions. The first being the most important, the third being the least important. However, if you'd like just to list one, you can. Your vagrants will work on these directions over the course of the day. Now, depending on how events unfold across the day, not all and maybe even none of your vagrants' objectives will be completed. If you wanted to close out your day with a drink at the bar, that's going to be hard if someone else firebombed it. But that leads us into each direction's potential components. Where, when, what, with whom. You can be as specific as, I want to drink alcohol in the morning in the Hooverville Fog mess tent with the cook, or you can be as vague as, I need to kill. If you're specific, something is more likely to happen if it can. If you're vague, it's probably more likely to happen, but you have less control over it. That's a decision you'll need to make. Now, each turn takes place over the course of a day, and each day is broken up into 3 segments of time: morning, afternoon, and night. Each new video covers yesterday's events and opens up your opportunity to take actions today, or on this turn. So this video is called Monday. We covered Saturday's and Sunday's events. Now, on Monday, it is time for you to take actions. Turn format is in the guidebook, but essentially when you comment, you need your character's first and last name, your 2 skills and 1 drawback, and at least 1 direction for your vagrant. In each video, you'll also get to see the character sheet we are using to track you. This is what you are beginning the day with. There's no XP, there is no leveling up, so mainly you'll be keeping an eye on your inventory, your money, and your injuries. The concept here is less about individual character progression and hard mechanics, and more about mob narrative progression with loose mechanics. Painless to drop in or drop out, because individually you don't have a lot to lose, and if you die, you can roll a new character just like that. And if you want a little anonymity, or you want in but can't comment, use a different account and don't be stupid. Mechanically, I think that's about it. I've always wanted to get into tabletop stuff, but my schedule is weird and I don't like people. So we could have gone the solo tabletop route, and we still might, I'm looking into that, but we're in a position, we have enough viewers but not too many, we can experiment with a wider but more shallow tabletop light experience. Specifically for the person whose schedule is weird and doesn't like people. The exact same way we do the Fiverr Tarot thing. By taking the focus off the individual players and putting it on the community they are nudging around, you can play a role in how things turn out without needing to set aside time every however many weeks, without needing to show up every time, without needing to dedicate a few hours. It's the executive mindset of tabletop role-playing. It's like Skyrim with homeless people. I'm curious to see how this turns out. Like a bunch of dung beetles collectively shit-rolling. If you get confused, check the guidebook in the description. All sorts of instructions. And to clarify one more time, we aren't going to be rolling dice What makes sense for your character? What do you want to see happen? This is a lot more about community narrative than it is hard mechanics. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you haven't.